All right, looks like we're all back from our labor session. No decisions, just discussion. And so we'll move right into our next item on the agenda, which is community development. And Dave?
Good morning, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
So this morning, the first piece is really easy. We did a contract with the Fire Chiefs Association for fire investigation. Did that back in December, and then noticed that we put an end date of 2017. So that needs to be updated to 2023. It's a simple change, and I'm going to change an address on there too. So just a couple of administrative changes, looking to see if we can go ahead and do that without bringing it back to the action agenda.
Commissioners, comments?
I guess it would be how it was read into the meeting, right? Yeah, we actually read the motion. How did we read it?
You know, I have to go back and look. It's easy enough to bring it back to action agenda. We could do that just as easily. So,
and just say due to a Scrivener's error.
yeah, we can. I'll just do that on the next action agenda.
Okay.
That way it's very transparent.
Yep.
Is that something, Dave, that you would maybe want for tomorrow, or?
You know, there's not a rush.
Okay.
So I can roll it right back into the regular agenda schedule.
Okay.
So
We're already 5 years out of contract.
Right.
Yeah.
What's another 2 weeks at that point?
Yeah. So I mean, they're doing the work, and this has been a long-standing relationship with the fire chief. So we're good to go.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like we'll put it on the action agenda at our next regular meeting in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Great.
Do that. Okay. And then the next item we have is Kel.
Morning.
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 Happy Valentine's Day, Monday. Okay, first up I have, we had 3 Planning Commission member terms come up in January. 2 of them, Tim Opelia and Isaiah Johnston, have reapplied to be reappointed. And then we will have 1 open seat. And so today I'm requesting that we have on the action agenda for tomorrow to reappoint both Isaiah Johnston and Tim Opelia. And then for March 1st meeting to read a news release to fill the vacant position in, I think it's Commissioner District 2. Yeah, Commissioner District 2.
Okay. I'm good with that recommendation, commissioners.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll be action agenda tomorrow. And then my next item is the Belfaire Planned Action Environmental Impact Statement. There is a public hearing scheduled for tomorrow. And at last week's briefing, there was discussion about delaying that. So I'm just coming back today to hear from the commission on how to proceed.
Okay. So to be clear, there is a hearing tomorrow. And there's a recommendation on the table from the Planning Advisory Commission on alternative 3.
On the alternative 3 hybrid. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that, okay. So commissioners?
In our last meeting, Commissioner Trask had said that she's willing to go back out for another meeting with the community so the community could have a say. Has that changed at all?
Well, in reviewing as many times as we've had it out for the public, and I know that COVID was a different year. I wouldn't say go out again and have more public hearings or public meetings. I just want to make sure that the public feels like they're able to comment and get their questions answered. I've been supplying them with or directing them to the website on Mason County, and I think that's on the front page now also. And so I just want to make sure that the public feels like they've had enough time to review it. I know I'm spending countless hours reading through it, highlighting, asking questions, calling stakeholders, things like that as well. So I just want to make sure that the public feels comfortable moving forward. I'm comfortable moving forward. So I would say that it's up to the other two commissioners and to Kel also. I know that the PAC did a great job in reaching out and taking public comment. So I truly appreciate them and would like them to know how much I appreciate them also. So I'm comfortable moving forward. It's up to, I'd love to hear what the other two commissioners have to say.
Commissioner?
So it looks like we're back to what we did the last time, where we're going to go one way the last meeting we had, and now we're going to go back to a public hearing, which is a real shame. The stakeholders have been sending in emails telling you that they'd like to see a public forum of some sorts because they don't feel like the information had gotten out to the public, and it hasn't gotten out to the public. The public is big, it's large. There's a lot that is going on here. I don't know, would not even begin to understand what the hurry is. When the option is to educate the people and let them educate us, just blows me away that we would not even give them the opportunity to have an open house of some sorts on the largest change that we've had in almost 20 years. But, you know, it's the way it works, I guess. You know, we've been through this before. There's elections have consequences, and, you know, you two decide what's going on for my community without listening to me or listening to them, because they told you also what they wanted. And there was a lot of information in the other emails that came when it was talking about the sewer extension, talking about traffic and stuff. I just want to see them get the opportunity to have real interactions with this commission or with this board in one way or another. Having a simple open house where you have 3 trestles going and they can look over the 3 different options seems like a no-brainer to me, but we are where we're at. And we will pay the consequence for that, because this is just ramming something through that shouldn't be run through. That's going to affect so many people, all for the idea of expediency, or because you feel like there's been enough when there has not been one single town hall or meeting up there. Like I said, for the mobility plan, we had several, and there was no action that came with that. But for something so important to that community and to this county, to not have a true open forum. I just attended another forum up there in North Mason again, where again, it looks like we had about 60, 70 people on crime. They all showed up, just like they showed up 2 weeks ago. So they would be there if we would allow them to. But if we're not going to allow them to, then we will all pay that price.
Yeah, so you know, again, in reviewing the packet put together here by staff, I think it's actually clear that there has been a lot of involvement and a lot of solicitation of opinion from the community. You know, I guess, you know, where I really struggle with this is this idea that there's only one voice on the commission that cares about Belfaire. You know, it's our community too. We live here. We want to see what's best for the community, and I think that was our intent in going forward with this 2 years ago and making this investment so that we could do the first sub-area plan in Belfaire in a decade and a half, because we want to make sure that when growth does occur, that we're addressing it in an appropriate way so that it's sustainable. And the mechanisms within the planned action environmental impact statement actually help us have a bigger say in how those processes work and what development has to contribute to the consequences of development. Prior to this process, I was not a fan of impact fees. I would have told anybody that came to meet with me, and in fact I did, that I wasn't going to be open to having impact fees. But hearing from the community and seeing the development that's happening up there, I recognized that I had to change my opinion on that. I had to change my position. And so I've been responsive to the concerns that I'm hearing from folks in the Belfaire community, as well as in the southern part of the county, and reevaluating my position on issues throughout this process. And so we do have a mechanism to receive even more public comment, and that's the public hearing that's tomorrow. And I suspect that we will have comment, and I suspect that we'll hear people say that this is being rushed and that it's being hurried. Again, I just point to the fact that we're following the law. The SEPA process in law is pretty clear, and I think we've exceeded that. We've extended the comment period a number of times. We were responsive to Commissioner Netherland's request that we do a UGA-wide mailer and increase the budget for this process, taking us well over $200,000 in order to solicit more of that feedback. It's been in the newspaper, and we will have the public hearing tomorrow where, again, hearing from the people, maybe, I'll hear something new tomorrow that makes me reevaluate a position as I have throughout this process. But growth is going to happen regardless of whether or not we adopt an EIS. The EIS gives us the best chance to address all of those impacts of growth, from the environmental impacts to the transportation impacts, and all the way through. And so I think it's a significant step forward for our community. And I think our staff, as well as the consultants from Burke, have done a tremendous job in putting together a plan that, like I said, has challenged my own position on different issues in a way that I think moves the county forward. And so I'm comfortable with what staff has done, and I'm confident that we'll receive public comment tomorrow that's intended to be constructive and takes into account the fact that we all care deeply about this community, and that takes into account the fact that we all want to see what's best for this community. And one of the things that's best for this community is growth done in a sustainable and managed way, so that we protect all that we care about in the community. So I'm comfortable keeping the hearing for tomorrow. Any other discussion?
No, I'm comfortable moving ahead.
Okay, Cheryl, does that give you enough, Commissioner?
Yeah, just, again, this is the second time this has happened to me when it comes to this, where we say we're going to do something and then it changes the next week or so. And that's fine. But again, I'm wishing I had informed the public, because I told you then in good faith, but I guess my good faith was wasted on that. So that's too bad.
Okay, well, I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Mhm.
Kel, do you need anything else from us?
Nope, I'll just be prepared for public hearing tomorrow.
Okay. Next item.
I'm good.
Unmute myself here. That does it for us, unless you have questions, commissioners. We do have some changes coming with masking, and this last week we did get test kits out. We have more test kits arriving today, and I think more later this week from the state. So we're going to start expanding the scope of our test distribution. So this last week, it was primarily to some of our critical infrastructure folks, and then some distribution points. We're going to start expanding that distribution out to some of our businesses that have a lot of impact in the community. So we've got kits on the way to do that. We're supporting county employees and county departments. We're looking to reopen the courts next week with support of masks and test kits. So we're kind of starting to expand our capabilities. At the same time, the COVID is coming down. So we're down 50% in case rates over the past 2 weeks. So that is looking better. And I think public health is doing a pretty good job downstairs of getting that sort of thing out. If county employees have questions, please call extension 588 and we'll answer those.
Great, very good. Commissioners, anything for Dave, for staff?
I know that the governor's got a lot of decisions to make moving forward. So I'm expecting another announcement, a press conference sometime this week.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Next up, we have support services. Mark.
Yeah. Good morning, commissioners. I brought before you today a potential offer that I'd like to get approval on for the board to make to PUD 3. It's specific to property located at 2201 West Dayton Airport Road. We've looked at this before. We've actually briefed on this before. So back in August of 2021, I think that the board had approved a purchase of the parcel for $320,000 at the time. When we went out and looked at the parcel and kind of went through it, we identified that there were some complications associated with the parcel. There was it's a product called bentonite. I believe that it is a mineral that is utilized most commonly in surrounding well casings, but also the PUD utilizes it to prevent moisture from getting into areas that they don't want moisture. So we took a look at it. It is going to require some removal of that product. Everyone that I've talked to has said that it's not that you could actually dispose of it fairly routinely. There's no special thing that you have to do to dispose of it. I've spoke with the staff from PUD3. We went out and looked at the facility. So they currently have a purchaser of, there's 2 natural gas generators in this building, fairly large, that were put in back in, 2011 timeframe. And those have been sold. So an individual is going to come and remove them. The purchaser of the generators is required to bring the building back to its original condition. So they are going to have to do some modifications to potentially some interior walls and potentially a door in order to remove the generators from the site. And they will be bringing it back to its original state. So what I would like to do is offer the PUD $280,000 plus closing costs. I've been working with Richard Beckman from Beckman Realty, and he's been super helpful on this. So appreciate his work on it, and requesting that the board give Randy authority to actually sign the purchase and sale agreement or offer.
Sure. Mark, when we're covering closing costs, what closing costs are we talking? Do you know? Are we talking about their tax? Or are we talking about just closing for the title company and for our realtor?
It would be split. This closing costs for our realtor would be split between us and the PUD. And then the PUD would be responsible for anything that they have to pay on it.
Okay, because when you're saying closing costs, usually that includes all that. So want to make sure that is covered. Also, this person that is going to be doing bringing it back to its original state, if the ground is damaged with bentonite, are they going to be fixing that?
That I don't know, Commissioner. I'm interested to see how they go about doing this. These generators are not light, and they're fairly big pieces of machinery. So I'm interested to see how they're going to get them out of there. But I do know from conversations with PUD staff that the individual purchasing them is required to bring the site and the building back to its original condition.
Okay.
So I would recommend that we actually have an opportunity to go and view that and verify that it has been brought to its original condition prior to purchase.
Just bear in mind that if something happens and it gets all damaged and going in, if they just put soil over the top of it, that may make it a little more expensive for trying to pull the stuff out of there. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I really tried to dig in and find exactly how much material we're talking about, right? Because I think that there's certain areas where you could leave the bentonite, and then there's other areas that I expect we will have to go in and excavate some of that out of there in order to utilize the building. It's a 3,500 square foot metal building. We have a ton of uses for storage that we could utilize it for. And then the acreage is, I think it's a little over 16 acres in total. Now, the majority of that kind of falls off on the backside down into a ravine wetland, but it does flatten out back in the back. And there are a couple of sites that are along that Dayton Airport Road that are potential additional building sites. So I kind of like where it's located. It's a very secure facility. It is, it's got a chain link fence around it, but the chain link fence has the obscurity deals in it so that you can't see into it, as well as razor wire surrounding the entire site too. But yes, you are correct, Commissioner Netherland, that we are going to have to most likely excavate some of that. And so I've been talking a little bit with Kelly Frazier, our facilities manager, about how we go about doing that and what does that look like.
Thank you.
Mark, is there any possibility for our facility staff to be on site when the generators are removed?
Absolutely, we can ask. I definitely think we want to be present, at least towards the end of it when they're trying to put it back together, because they've got good documentation and pictures of what the facility looks like right now. And so requiring that purchaser of the generators to bring it back to its original condition is super important part of this deal.
Yeah. Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, that's a pretty cool process. I'd like to watch it myself as they remove it. But when looking at the topographical map, there's a lot of very steep slopes. So we do have quite a bit of usable property, even though there's steep slope, right?
I wouldn't say quite a bit. I would say that there are other building locations along the roadside that I would feel comfortable with putting probably a similar size facility, another 3,500 square foot steel storage building. But I have not researched the property way in the back. So once you get down the slope, it does flatten out in the back, and that may also be buildable. But there is a stream that actually runs down through the bottom of it. So I have talked with individuals in our community services department as well as facilities, and they just wanted to make us aware that existed there.
Okay, I wouldn't mind just keeping it pristine and treed and very natural. I think that would that's Mason County. Also, it's right by the road, so we do have access to the trunk line for the sewer.
Yes, it currently has its own septic. I think that there is a fairly small septic field, but it is hooked up to, obviously, to gas, natural gas, and electricity.
Okay, great, thank you.
Do you happen to remember the gallons on the septic system? You don't have to. If you find it, that's all right. Well, that'll help to tell us what we have there. If we can get the septic permit, just to know what we have, we could work with there.
Yeah, I did review it, Commissioner Netherland, and it was they did talk about it. I think it's on the smaller side because it is just one restroom that can be utilized by employees that are in the control room area. But I thought it was like maybe 2 people, 1 bathroom. Dave, do you have additional details on that?
I can look it up. I'm pretty certain it's set for 240 gallons per day, which is a minimum size.
Does he have a well?
I didn't catch that. What was that?
Oh, sorry. It does it have a well?
I will check.
Thank you.
If it's got a septic, it's got to have a well there, I would think, because something's going to feed the toilet. They didn't have the public water, did they?
I'll check and see if they've got public water, but I don't think they do. I think the prison system's on its own.
Oh, here comes Kelly.
Kelly's jumping on there, so he might have an answer to that. So
it does have a well.
Yeah.
Kelly?
So Mark, are you clear? Or what do you need now? I mean, have we made ourselves
if
clear
you guys
enough?
are, I feel like there's the $320,000 offer, according to Richard, was a very fair offer for the site. I believe with the savings that we have, if they accept the $280,000, that 40,000 can be utilized to actually clean up, do some modifications. I'd like to move some doors around so that we have better access to the entire facility with roll-up doors for storing some trailers and potentially some public health materials that currently don't have storage space.
I'm good.
Commissioner Netherland, anything else?
Yep, nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right,
So
thanks.
the original, just a confirmation, original purchase was approved out of REIT 1. Would the board like to continue to look at REIT 1 funds as the funding source?
I'm good with that. Commissioners, all good?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
That's all I had for that.
Okay.
And then our next one is Jen Firely. Jen, are you on?
Yes, thank you, Mark. Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to present the January financials. Can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay, great. So for January, for revenue, current expense, for this year, we have $2,084,682. That's what we've brought in. Last year, we brought in $2,123,753 revenue this year, along with 5% last year. So we're very comparable. Any questions on the revenue?
Close enough. Yeah,
Sorry, what was that?
it's close enough. A little
Yeah.
bit less, but it's close enough. Be anything.
Yeah, and actually, it looks a little bit less, but it's actually, I mean, we had 50,000 in historical preservation. That was just a transfer in. So, so it's actually just slightly more. So,
Yeah,
on the treasurer's revenue detail, and that's page 3 and 4 of the handout. The treasurer's revenue is slightly more this year than it was last year. We're at $1,107,666. Last year, we were at $1,075,749. We're at 4% of the budgeted revenue in the treasurer's department as compared to last year. So everything is looking okay for January. Any questions on that?
Not for me.
All right, moving on to expenditures for current expense. We have $3,246,033 this year is what we've expended. And last year through January, $3,149,688. This year we're at 7% of our total expenditure budget as compared to last year, we were at 8%. So again, very comparable there. Questions on that?
No.
I know January is kind of a boring month to present. So moving on to the special revenue streams comparison, we have community development revenue is slightly lower than it was last year, but still up over the previous 4 years prior to 2021. So everything is looking okay, I would say. Property taxes are just a little bit less than last year, which again is okay. We haven't sent out statements. Those go out in March, I believe, typically. The road diversion property tax looks weird in the last couple of years in January and February, up until about April, I believe, because we do a reversal transaction at the beginning of the year, moving the over collected diversion back into roads. And so that's why it's a negative amount right now. For sales tax is up, which is great. I think this was a record January, so so that's great news.
again, that reflects November's numbers or December's, because we're usually 2 months behind, aren't we?
Yeah, that should be November's number.
So, boy, you can expect more than I guess for next month, huh? If
Yeah,
that, if you had a record in November.
Yeah, depending on when everybody did their Christmas shopping, I guess. So rural sales and use tax, that one is also up over the previous 5 years, which is great. The community services homelessness prevention filings are down just slightly. And as interest rates, if those go up, the filings will probably be down month over month. The lodging tax is up, which is good news, and REIT is pretty much flat compared to last year, just slightly lower. So any questions on any of this?
Yeah, maybe Jen, maybe, I don't know if Dave's still on here or not, but maybe a question for Dave or Kel on the community development. So obviously a little bit of a flattening still, I mean, well above our 6-year low. But in terms of demand or what they're seeing coming across the desk over in community development, have we seen a decline? Is this something that we need to keep an eye on? That, you know, the requests for permits are going down, or is this just a seasonal lull?
Yeah, I can definitely follow up. Oh, unless Dave's on.
Hey there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, we have seen a small decline in some single family residential, but we're not expecting anything to be unordinary this year as far as revenues. So we're expecting decent revenues for the rest of the year. And Kathy does a really great job of eyeballing our budget. And so if we do see something, we'll definitely bring it forward.
Great, thank you.
Now on the REIT, do you know when they kicked in with the new structure? The date?
Say that again?
Do you happen to know when they kicked in the new, and you might not, maybe Jen, when they kicked in the new structure for REIT?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I believe it was maybe the beginning of 2020, but I can go back and look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the sales tax. So again, record sales tax collected in January, 678,000, which is great. If we continue on like this, we're projected to receive about 8.5 million in sales tax towards the end of, or by the end of the year, by the end of December. Moving on to the 6-year financial recap. So at the end of January, current expense has 20,579,000 in cash. And again, we're at 5% of our revenue budget and then 7% of our expenditure budget, which is very typical for January. So the cash balances for the special funds are at 39,713,000 at the end of January. And that is a good number comparing the previous 5 years. So questions on any of that?
Not for me, commissioners?
Okay.
A big portion of that is that American Rescue number though, right?
Yeah, that's about 5 million.
Yeah.
But
So
even
still,
taking that out, we're still looking pretty good.
yeah.
Moving on to the motor pool summary. So through January, we have expended 4.5% of our budget. And I am working on getting that motor pool comparison to you. So I should be able to do that, I would think, by the end of the month. So questions on motor pool?
We're in it no matter what. It's just more for informational anyway, so.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the special fund revenue. This is page 11 of your handout. So we are at $2,896,734 in the special revenue funds, special and other revenue funds. And compared to last year, 3,023,400 was received. Our total revenue budgets for 2022 is 73 million compared to last year was only 43 million at the beginning of the year. So we're at 4% of the total collected this year and 7% last year, but very comparable numbers there. So questions on the revenue?
No.
Okay, moving on to the last page, the expenditures for the special and other funds. We're at $5,006,496 compared to last year, $3,317,578, and we're at 6% of our total budget each year. And any questions there?
Not for me, commissioners.
No, looks good.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll follow up on the REIT question and email you, commissioners, on that.
Excellent. Thanks, Jennifer.
I'll stop sharing here too. Okay.
Great.
I believe our next topic is our Board of Equalization. Becky, are you on?
I'm on. Deb's on.
Oh, hi, Deb.
Hi there. So we are requesting that Cheryl Williams be appointed to the permanent vacant position on the Board of Equalization as an action item on tomorrow's agenda. And then also that we place another ad for nominees for the alternatives. We did not get any other candidates when that last ad was placed.
I'm supportive.
I am as well.
I am as well. Deb, can you, so I looked on our website and it looks like we have 2 other vacant. Are those the alternates?
That would be correct. This Cheryl would fill the third permanent position, and then there will be 3 vacancies. So we will have no alternates available at all after once Cheryl's appointed. She's been filling in as an alternate and filling that position. So yeah, we need to go back out and try to find some additional candidates.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So important to have that bench. You know, it's great to be able to have a vacancy and pull somebody of Cheryl's caliber from the alternate spot into a permanent position and then refill that way.
For sure.
Yes, great.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Mark, anything else?
No, that's all for us. I think we're moving on to Public Works.
Okay.
Morning.
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 Well, first up, commissioners, we have a notice of intent for a brand new permit. And this permit is for nutrient reduction and aimed at reducing or improving low oxygen levels and water quality within Puget Sound. And Richard and Justin are here to share a little bit more about that permit and its requirements.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, so basically there is Department of Ecology has come through and there's 58 wastewater facilities that discharge into Puget Sound. And with those, they are requiring a new separate permit aside from their current NPDES permit. So with that, we have one, and Russellwood is discharging into Puget Sound, and it's along the same lines as what our NPDES permit is, and it goes for 5 years, so it's going to enact in 2022 and all the way to 2026, and basically it just has a little bit more stringent guidelines on nutrient removal and optimization of your plant. Ecology has already, put out the notice that there are grant money funds available, and we have already put in for that if there's anything that we need to supplement for testing or additional requirements, or even looking into like optimization of our plant if we're not able to, I guess, meet those permit requirements, regularly. But right now we're currently actually we're testing for the requirements that it's going to be in those permits. So we're already kind of ahead of the game. And we're hoping to kind of do a little two birds with one stone here. And there's the notice of intent that needs to be signed. And then there's going to need to be signature signature permission for us. And we cannot get that until we get a permit number, which we can't get the permit number until the notice of intent is signed. So we're just basically looking for approval of that. So we just don't have to come back and brief you on that again. So.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
I think that's cool. So the city of Shelton's going to have to go through the same process, I'm sure.
Yep. Unfortunately, Puget Sound is just the nutrients and what's discharging in there is really causing havoc on the fish and wildlife and just low oxygen levels. So it's the ecology has to do something. So.
There was a really interesting article in the Kitsap Sun over the weekend about a lot of these issues and just understanding the costs associated with operating plants that discharge into the sound it's gonna be a dominant issue for years to come, I think. So I'm supportive with moving forward as well.
Yep.
Anything else, commissioners, on this? Okay, great.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, commissioners. And next up, we have 2 items related to our citizen advisory committees. And it is a news release for our tip cap and solid waste advisory committee announcing openings and asking for volunteers to serve on these very important committees. Our tip cap members, as you know, advise commissioners on transportation related issues and primarily focus on our capital improvement projects, our annual construction, our 6-year tip. And our solid waste advisory committee members are incredibly helpful in assessing and identifying and making recommendations on solid waste related priorities and recycling. And we're looking for members for both and requesting that we have a news release to that effect.
Okay, commissioners.
Yeah, Loretta, on the tip cap, we had put an end to it at one point and re-brought it back in. Did we stagger the membership or are they all up?
The membership is not very staggered, Commissioner. Yes, they're pretty much all up.
Okay. Would you mind sharing with us later? Just send an email with the structure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, when you say structure, Commissioner, you mean what the current terms are and expiration dates?
We had it set up for districts and industries such as
yes.
MTA,
yes,
bicycles, trucking, I think.
Yeah.
If you could send us that so we'd have that, and maybe commissioners, we can talk about shifting, given a 3-year term to a few or something like that, so that we don't have a complete exodus at one time in the future.
I would be open to that conversation. I'd be open to taking a look at how we structure tip cap. I think that's prudent. I appreciate you asking for that, Commissioner. I was going to ask for the same. If we could also get that for the solid waste committee, just so we know who's on there, what their terms are, who they're representing, et cetera, just to have a refresher.
You bet. And I believe the links are current under the advisory board page. So.
Kind of amazing how both these groups have been such well-attended citizen advisory committees that, fully engaged.
Absolutely. Very helpful for us. Absolutely. And we're very appreciative of the members that volunteer their time.
Very important committees.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Loretta?
The only other item is Mike is here and available to provide an update. We've had a lot of questions posed by members of the community about the Trails Road and settling along the road. And Mike's prepared to give a quick update and some options and what we've been looking at if the commission would like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Good morning. So the trail slide data we have is geotech data all the way back from 1995. And then they studied it again in 2017. So it's been studied quite a bit. None of the reports make any mention of a risk of a sudden and catastrophic failure with a busload of kids on it. So we're not too concerned about the, that happening as some of the public has really made that comment. So this is what we would call more of a creeper slide. This thing only moves in an extreme weather events. It doesn't move every year. The most I've seen recently that it's moved is 3 to 4 inches. And so it's something that is about 500 feet long. Groundwater's down about 20 feet in the summertime. The only way, I mean, the way to fix this would be to excavate the whole thing out. It'd be about 15,000 cubic yards. We're talking about $500,000 to $750,000 job. The issue there is funding, obviously. That's something the county forces could perform, which would make it a little cheaper, but that's, road closure for a month and a month's worth of work coming out of from doing something else. So we've talked to, I haven't sent you or forwarded you guys emails, but we've been talking to a few of the residents and kind of calming their nerves there. We are planning on patching the slide back this week. Although, it's still there, it's just covered up. That's kind of where we are. We put this in for FEMA to get reimbursed, but it looks like we're not going to get any money from FEMA on this road. I don't, we could request some RAP funding for it possibly, but I don't know how high it would score for RAP. So it's kind of something that's, up to us to do or keep patching back. So.
Mike, you also
Yes.
have a couple of other options. So we talked about the
Yes.
fix, but we also have kind of a investigate and take some lower cost solutions that may not work, right?
Yes. What we did was, this thing's almost in equilibrium, so it's almost stable. And so there is a couple other options we looked at. That's probably is trying to reduce the amount of water that gets into the cut, as you say there. That would be like paving the ditch line or doing some kind of culverting to where you would take the water down away from the slide area. That may be enough to reduce the movement. Years ago, and nobody's got any records of it, we actually put a cross culvert in there in the drainage system. That's settled in that it's right directly in the middle of the slide. So it's moved. So that culvert is probably separated. And so excavating down and fixing that or replacing that may change and again put us in equilibrium. Those things would cost less significantly, but you're also going to have the it didn't work factor. You tried something and it didn't work, but there would be significantly less cost than obviously the $500,000 project. So that's something we could try and make it known to the public that this is just an effort to reduce the amount of times it happens, and we may slow it down or keep it from happening at all.
Go ahead.
So on the water and the water table there and stuff like that, I remember when they did all that work and put it in there, it actually did have a positive effect for quite a while. That's a long time ago. I wasn't a commissioner, I was just as a citizen. It did have a positive effect for a long time. One of the problems that I've seen though over the years, if I remember correctly, is although we repave it, by repaving it, we put more weight on it, and the more weight helps push it down, and it's a cycle that it just gets caught in. If we do the work that's necessary, you're looking at an increase, I think, of 20 minutes for transportation for the people to go on. So faster, yeah. But at the same time, you know, one of the biggest worries is those buses going through there. We learned some years back that buses are about the heaviest thing that could be on the road because it's all focusing on a small amount of tire compared to a 16-wheeler and stuff. So all that weight's there. I'd hate to see anything happen to any of our kids. I'd love for us to look at the actual fix and what it would take to, you know, have it into our plan for the actual fix. And I'd also like us to continue to maybe focus on that Razor Road connector that might take a lot of the traffic off it as well, not to mention give an alternate route when any of these things are going on. I drove up it. It is a pretty good slump again right now. Not as bad as that Victor thing. That one's getting really, really bad again. I know that's not ours, but wow, going across that one, I'm surprised somebody ain't getting hurt.
Yeah, I hear you, Commissioner Miller. I think we need to do something on trails. If we chose one of the more, you know, middle of the road options, would that preclude us, you know, from going for the bigger fix in the long term? I mean, if we try to cobble together some of the funding, since it is pretty expensive.
No, if we tried one of the smaller options, we could, yeah, it wouldn't affect whether we could get to the larger one. Preferred would be to actually, like Commissioner was saying, is to have Razor Road as a detour. So when we do close this for a month or maybe more for the repair, that would, you know, allow the traffic to continue to flow, wouldn't put as much impact. But we do have some information on Razor Road. We're actually doing rights of entry now again, so that we can get back in there and take a better look at that plan wise. So that is in the books, but yes, one of these lesser cost repairs would be something that we could do. Yeah.
And Mike, some years ago, I was able to get a letter from the landowner that separates the two Razor Roads, allowing us to move forward if we wanted to. It's been quite a while. I don't know if that land is still owned by the same people. Have we checked to see if that's still a viable option? If the people who own it are still interested, or if the new owners, if there are some, are open to it?
Yeah, that's what Mike McGurven surveyed. They're in the process of doing now. It's one of many on their list, excuse me.
That could be our first real new road in all these years.
Commissioner Trask, any comments or
Yeah,
questions?
no, wanted to thank Mike and Loretta for sending out that email too, with a good summary of what the possibilities were and the path forward. Appreciated that. But Razor Road, I'd be interested in you looking into that one as well. Maybe do that before so that they do have an alternate route. Staff's pretty smart. Good job, guys.
It's been on our priority list for, I think, 8 years, so it'd be nice to get it through.
Yeah, it's definitely been on the tip for some time and slowly creeped up on the priority rating. And absolutely looking forward to getting the preliminary alignment identified and rights of entry and engaged landowner willingness. Rights of entry are often a good first indicator on that. So commissioners, I'm not sure if I heard some consensus on direction. Certainly moving forward with the preliminary alignment on Razor Road. Is there a clear path forward? Would you like us to proceed with the smaller fix on Trails Road at this point, or to hold off on that and wait until we've got something further on Razor Road?
Yeah. So commissioners, just a reminder, we have that money set aside for the new roads for economic development that would be the one that funds the Razor Road. No matter what we do, eventually we're gonna have to fix trails anyway, because even if you have that bypass to do it or whatever, we almost kind of have to work on both at the same time and make it happen, in my opinion.
So
Yeah,
Mike-
oh, go ahead. Sorry, Commissioner Trask, go for it.
Oh, sorry about that. So if you have to close Trails End, how long will that, to make the minor adjustment, how long would that have to be closed? And do they have a very good alternate?
A smaller project, you could probably do that in a week and a half, 2 weeks would be a limited project. Yeah.
And
Full
Mike,
closure over that time?
oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Would that also require a full closure during that time period?
It would be most efficient to have a full closure, and it'd be safer for the public too in that sense. So, yeah.
But so we're looking at 2 weeks versus a month, but we're looking at expended of money that we still may have to come back and do the other one, the full fix at the same time. I'm hoping that we will look at doing both of them, get some type of access that they could choose, because it's 20 minutes. Commissioner Trask, I heard you ask about that. The people that live there say it's a 20-minute drive around when it is closed, which is quite an impact, especially kids, school time and stuff like that. But if we're working on both and maybe we can get, do a 1-2 punch. Well, this road will survive this year, right? It always does. If we just do the regular patch while we're working on it and get them both going, I think would be wonderful for the communities.
Well, and to be clear about the timing of any project, this is a late summer job. You're not getting out there opening up the road under these conditions. So as far as impacting school commute, it would be likely off regular school hours, school time, summertime.
North Mason is looking at year-round.
Year-round?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just be aware of that.
Yep, I know.
First, they came for my snow days with Zoom. Now they're coming for my summer.
Hey, any other questions, commissioners, for Mike on Trails Road?
No, I just think we want to, maybe keep this a little bit closer to the forefront, and, as you kind of evaluate options and funding sources, to keep bringing it back to us so that we're able to have these discussions. I think this was a really good conversation about a project we all see value in. So just want to not lose sight of it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
That is about it from us, commissioners. Any items or follow-up from you?
Yes, still back on that other, at the end of this last year, how much of your unexpended budget authority came back? Do you happen to remember? Jennifer, do you know if they don't?
Are you asking what our ending fund balance was, Commissioner?
Yeah, what came back of unexpended budget authority? And, historically, there's always a number. I'm wondering if we shouldn't consider setting that money specific, because the last few years, we've always tried to put some away back into the road for the new economic development. We didn't do any of it with this last year, but maybe next year we continue to use the money from the road for new economic development roads, while setting aside what we have for ending fund balance to pay for the actual full fix of this project as well. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, sorry, I had my volume turned down, so I didn't hear the question completely, but are you asking about the road fund?
Yes, unexpended budget authority, how much?
Yeah, actual ending fund balance, Jen, compared to what was budgeted.
I will take a look and come back in a few minutes.
And commissioners, we can bring that number back to briefing.
That's fine. I'm just trying to look for a way to maybe
Sure, yeah.
set it aside and let's get it done. And
yep,
because we're probably going to spend half as much, maybe a third, to do even the lightweight stuff that we'll have to come back and maybe rip up later.
probably 10%, Mike.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a much lower cost project.
Is that to do the water, or are we talking about just repaving?
It's basically to dewater or attempt to dewater.
But in a concentrated area.
Yeah. That's what all those little pipes are that are coming out. They tried everything to move that water around.
Been there, done that.
It seems to have worked very well for a long time.
I use that method in Colorado a lot.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at, I don't know if Jen's continuing to look this up, but I just pulled out the budget book and looks like our revised budget of 2021 for roads was 21.3 million. And we actually spent about 17.3 million.
I thought.
And
So
that, though, is that accounting for the reserve? The reserves, Mark?
It looks like there's a reserve in 2022 of about 872,000 that is restricted.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have the road reserve, which I believe is 4.5 million.
yeah,
It is.
Correct.
for new roads, economic development, and we didn't put any way of it this year for the ending fund balance like we normally would have. So there was some extra money that was there. We just didn't put it into the new roads like we had in the past.
And then our 3.5 million in budgetary reserve.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so our ending actual cash balance was $9,607,493 in roads. And I'm looking up what we had budgeted for the end of 2021. The budget for the end of 2021 was $7,623,182.
That's the number I was looking for, is those two numbers combined. So there was the money there, and it should still carry over into this year. I don't think we spent the unexpended budget authority. We stopped budgeting that into our expenditures some years back.
And then Jen, our beginning balance for 22.
Was $9,607,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
So if we were to move forward, commissioners, I would think that the money's there with the revised structure.
You mean, are you talking about both projects, Razor Road and Trails End?
Yeah, but the Razor Road one should come out of the 4.5 million that Jennifer was talking about. Those are, that one should be separate. That money was put away specifically for those projects, including $1 million for the Gateway project into Shelton, Commissioner.
Right.
Okay, well, maybe an opportunity for staff to scrub those numbers a little bit and maybe tighten up what the projections are. I mean, 500 to $750,000, that's still a gap. Maybe we can drill down on that a little bit more and come back to us with a little better figure on that and some options on paying for it. Does that sound amenable, commissioners?
Yes.
That's good.
I'd love to actually have it come back to us so that we can start to move forward with both of those projects.
Great. Okay, commissioners, anything else for staff?
I got nothing.
Okay. All right. If that's all you got, then commissioner discussion.
I have something, Commissioner,
Sure.
if you don't mind. So I attended a meeting again this weekend up in North Mason that again was extremely well attended in regards to crime and criminal activities. Sadly enough, while we were actually having that meeting, there was actually somebody at the White Barn trying to steal their wire while the meeting was going on. It's just amazing how these things keep working together. But one of the things that came up, and I'm not saying it for any action, but only for consideration, one of the things that came up, I was doing some research and finding that some of the things that work within the communities is a type of a criminal justice citizen advisory committee that has, some different teeth. And the participants in it are, of course, people like certain HOAs for community watches and stuff. But also a big one is business participants, and for a business community watch that changes the structure, how they do it. So there'd be business reps from the local communities, there'd be reps from HOAs, reps from business, rep from law enforcement, rep from prosecuting attorney's office, all working to come up with ideas and the different things they think that can work and how different type of crime watches can happen. But also what I was reading, some of them come together and actually go for grants and stuff as well. Of course, with the permission of the group that they're representing, which would be us. And I'm just asking you to keep that in your mind as a consideration, that we might want to create a citizens advisory committee or panel that's staffed literally so that we can try to move forward with some of their projects and work together with the different departments with different ideas. Some of the ideas might be creating a ticket for this infraction or that infraction to move it forward, or like I said, a crime watch specific for businesses, different types of things they do, cameras. I just would like you to keep that in mind, because that did come up, and I said I would bring it up to the commission to discuss. Every time I hear the ding ding, I think I'm at 7-Eleven.
Well, I think that's a great idea. I'd like to look a little bit more at it. If you have information, maybe you could forward it to us through staff, and I'm certainly interested in it. I think the more people we have leaning in on the issue, the better off we're going to be. Certainly as our whole state faces some significant public safety challenges, I think it's a good opportunity for us to lean in on that work.
I think it's pretty cool. A lot of the business owners in Shelton have been installing cameras around their places, and some of the cameras have ways that you can talk through them, and so it's I've heard that some of the conversations are quite interesting. But I think it's a great idea to be able to protect your business. You can get a copy of the person breaking in and hand that over to law enforcement. So yeah, I too would be interested in moving forward on that.
Great. Okay, anything else? Okay, well, having hit the end of our briefing agenda, I would entertain a motion we adjourn for the day.
Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned. Have a good day. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy
Thanks.
Valentine's Day.